Do you know the Ducati 996? If you've seen the movie The Matrix Reloaded, you probably remember it. And if you look at this video's title, you'll see where this is going. Yes, I agree with you. Modifying this Ducati is a bad idea. Fortunately, the project you will see today is not in this category. Let's just say that whoever did this project made this bike much better than it was. I know it's hard to believe, but just like Morpheus said in the movie The Matrix, all I'm offering you is the truth. Welcome to Racer TV. I believe at this precise moment, your opinion on this project will not be the best nor the worst. But I can guarantee that in a few minutes, your judgment will change. I would say that to correctly judge this work, it is necessary to know the story behind it. And it was precisely this factor that convinced me to present this Ducati today. This awesome Cafe Racer was built in the US by Jaron Hall. And to the delight of many followers of this channel, he is not a professional builder. Jaron is 30 years old and works in marketing at a software company. This means all modifications were made inside his garage. Almost like a bike shed build, but without a shed. Some of you are wondering how Jaron had the courage to transform a healthy and well-functioning Ducati 996 into a highly modified Cafe Racer. The truth is, he didn't. This is the real condition of this Ducati when Jaron bought it. Yes, it is as bad as it looks. The fairing sections were missing. The subframe was cut. And it had knobby tires that couldn't go faster than 80 miles per hour. All of this is the result of the previous owner, who had the brilliant idea of trying to transform this Ducati into a scrambler. And so Jaron thought it was a great excuse to turn a 996 into a Cafe Racer. I would say that this was a risk-free move, because even if the project went wrong, it would never get worse than it already was. And I must say, it ended very well indeed. I'm not going to say it deserves an award for originality, but considering this is a homemade project and built by an amateur builder, I have to admit, Jaron did an exceptional job. Especially if we consider that the Ducati 996 is very far from being an easy bike to convert. Not to mention the electrical wiring, which was very well done by professionals. Fortunately, that is the past, and this is the present. So let's see what Jason did to save this Ducati. The first thing was obviously to change the tires. The next step, it was to build a clean and tubular subframe, which bolts to the factory chassis. Small improvements were made later, such as powder-coated rims wave pattern brake discs, aftermarket rear sets, open dry clutch cover, and an aftermarket black radiator, protected by a nice grille. But the part that stands out most in this project is definitely the rear. If you look at this image, you will see that the fiberglass seat is quite ordinary. But when we see the final project, it is amazing how well everything turned out. Which means Jaron was very insightful in the details. The location of the two SC exhausts was inspired by the Superleggera 1299. In this case, it was an excellent choice to fill the huge empty space between the rear wheel and the base of the seat. Afterwards, he painted the subframe in the same color as the seat, giving it apparently more volume. And to make everything even more interesting, Jaron built the LED taillights using two curved plexiglass plates. Before you ask about the turn signals, here they are. Without a doubt, a very cool detail, and certainly the piece that makes this project stand out the most. But there is more. Do you see this Alcantara seat with hex pattern? No, it was not purchased. Believe it or not, Jaron made everything from scratch. He used his mum's sewing machine to make it. Interestingly, his wife, family and friends all doubted he could sew such a complex pattern. A very impressive work for someone who only had any experience during the 8th year class. Another interesting detail is this set of warning lights, covered with illuminated plexiglass and built into the upper triple clamp. And to drive fresh air into this powerful engine, he designed two air scoops which were made on a 3D printer. In this case, inspired by the upper air scoops on F1 cars. Notice how Jaron kept the hexagonal pattern of the seat. And the fender, with the frame's structure style supports. And this pedestrian slicer on the top. To be honest, I didn't know the name of this piece, but I can't help but find it very curious. Essentially, Jaron did everything alone in his garage, except welding the exhausts. Interestingly, he had help from his friend Mitch Whitcamp, the creator of this fantastic BMW, which I presented in 2022. But this doesn't explain how an amateur managed to do all this. The truth is, while he was in college, he lived with his grandfather, who restored and modified classic cars. Luckily, he managed to learn a lot about mechanics and electrical wiring. But modifying a 2001 Ducati is more complicated than 40-year-old motorcycles. And to solve this, Jaron had to search for additional knowledge on Facebook groups, online forums, Reddit pages, YouTube videos, and so on. As I said initially, this Ducati may not win an award for its overall design. But after knowing the whole story and seeing all the details, suddenly we began to see it differently. I hope you enjoyed seeing another homemade project, especially the inspiring story behind this beautiful machine. And I can only congratulate Jaron for his passion, dedication, and perseverance. Thank you. for watching Racer TV. And as always, I hope to see you on the next video.